Thank you very much for having the opportunity to share some insights from e-mobility at DPDHL Group. I headlined the first slide with e-mobility meets Universal Postal Union, and I'm very happy to share some insights about the e-mobility within DPDHL Group. And I would suggest, because it's a very short time we have, right to start with the first slide. At the beginning, I want to give you a more general overview about street scooter within Deutsche Post DHL. Afterwards, a brief history of the company and the car itself. Then I will switch to the product portfolio, and at the end of my presentation, which most likely is 10 minutes long, I'm talking about some current projects we are running with the street scooter outside Germany within the group. As you maybe know, DPDHL is strongly committed to a zero emission target by the year 2050. So our board members decided that the last mile and the whole logistics, what is DPDHL offering, so air freight, ocean freight, and road freight, and last mile delivery will be zero emission by the year 2050. This is our global target, and up front to that, we have some special local targets, and one of them is that we want to have, even by the year 2025, 70% of our pickup and delivery service and delivery solutions, green fleet solutions, which not only means it is fully electric, it can be as well with hybrid vehicles, it can be with LNG, CNG, or hydrogen, but most of these pickup and delivery routes will be routed with electric mobility. A couple of years ago, it really started with some ideas from our board members in why is there a necessity for e-mobility in general. So, just to give an example, on the domestic letter and parcel delivery service within Germany, we normally used products, for example, from Volkswagen Transporter, Volkswagen Caddy, or from Renault, like the Kangoo, or from Iveco. And the daily route with a delivery vehicle for a postal serviceman and woman in Germany is between 25 and 40 kilometers a day, with up to 300 stops a day. So when you have 300 starts and stops during a day, you can imagine that you have quite a lot of diesel or fuel consumption. The average consumption for a Volkswagen Caddy or Transporter in this specific way of delivery for postal products is up to 16.8 liters consumption of diesel on 100 kilometers. So you see that it's far away from the testing cycles. They are run by the OEM, but it is not because of the OEM. It is because of the kind of usage of the cars and the way in using the car in general. So there is definitely a need was seen by our board members for e-mobility, because we see, okay, there's environmental pollution from this high emission, and on top of it, we have residual value risks occurred from the Dieselgate. We have some EU proceedings against the countries and the cities. As you may know, almost every week another German city is prosecuted by German law in having diesel bans, so that diesel vehicles aren't allowed any longer in having their delivery or their inner city drives. So there is definitely a necessity in having electric mobility in German cities. So that is our current state of play. So right at the moment, we just crossed the high number of 9,000 street scooter Work and Work L in daily operations in Germany, domestic letter and parcel delivery service. We have more than 9,300 charging points installed right now. So we still have a little bit of a positive gap. So we can even produce a little bit more of the street scooters until for the peak season this year, and we can bring them into service. So we estimate by the end of the year we will break through the wall of 10,000 electric vehicles on domestic service here in Germany. Since the introduction of street scooter, we have now more than 42 million kilometers driven only on electric mobility. On top of that, we have 3,500 pedelecs or e-bikes and e-trikes in use for inner city delivery. And we have now the CO2-free parcel delivery launched with the Street Scooter XL. I will show something a little bit more later in the presentation. And yes, we have a successful start of the production of the Work XL in cooperation with the Ford company. May I now come to the history of Street Scooter itself a little bit more. There's a timeline. We start in the year 2010, and there was this university project run by two very keen professors, Professor Achim Kamker, which is still one of the managing director of Street Scooter, and Professor Günther Schuh. He is now the managing director of the Ego company. It's a small electric passenger car, which is also built in Aachen. But in 2010, both professors started the project with their students at the University of Aachen, and the first prototype was shown on the International Motor Fair 2011 in Frankfurt. You see on the picture in the left, Chancellor Angela Merkel shaking hands with Achim Kamker, and next to Angela Merkel, one of our board members visited the International Motor Fair as well, and he was absolutely overwhelmed by the idea in having a electric car in postal service. And so there was the connection made between Deutsche Post DHL and the Street Scooter, or the University of Aachen at that time, having the simple question if there's any possibility that the project can build up a delivery van on electric mobility. And Achim Kamker said, yes, why not? We should try. And in the year 2012, the first prototype of the Street Scooter Work came to life. And in 2013, they started with the testing and preparation of the first pilot series with a 50 series, and later on with a 100 series. So it means 50 cars in the first row and 100 additional cars in the second row. And in total, in the year 2014, 150 Street Scooter Work vehicles were in a nationwide live testing environment. And by the end of the year 2014, Deutsche Post DHL bought Street Scooter, and since then it's a 100% subsidiary of the group. And in the year 2015, the series production with the car started. At the beginning with the smaller vehicle, it's a Street Scooter Work. Later on, the size of the payload and the pay volume increased, and there was the introduction of the Street Scooter Work L. Yeah, in the year 2017, there was a strong request from the third market from a company perspective, and so there was a decision made that the Street Scooter can be offered to the third-party market, so for foreign postal companies, as an example, or even to plumbers or to gardeners or to local communities, and so on and so on. And in this year, 2018, we started with the first tests of the Street Scooter outside the domestic letter and parcel delivery division within the group, and we started testing the Street Scooter at one of the DHL divisions, is DHL Express in Germany and DHL Supply Chain in the UK. Let's go a little bit back in the past again to see what is the speciality of the car itself. So on the left pictures you see through the window and behind the lovely postal woman and common Volkswagen Caddy, which is still very common in a daily use for letter delivery. And on the right you see that these postal servicemen and women were included into the build-up of a completely new car with their own specifics. So they have a better surround view in the daily routes they are driving. They have a ergonomic compartment in the back of the car. entering and leaving the car is especially made for the postal service men and women. When you imagine that you are entering and leaving the car 300 times a day, you definitely need a special seat. You definitely need a special entrance. You need a special door which is able to open up, most likely a million times during the lifetime of the car. And everything was installed in a so-called lab car from laboratory, and everything what the 150 servicemen and women brought up in Aachen at university were included in the car. That you see on this page. So there is enough space for the handhelds. There's enough space for water bottles. There is space for this small cards they are writing when someone isn't at home during the time of the delivery. There is a possibility in recharging all their mobile devices. And when you see on the small picture in the upper right with the red arrow, there is no passenger airbag on this side, because of on the passenger side there is normally installed a letterbox where all these sorted letters for the daily tour is installed. So in the compartment they're most likely the parcels, and then on the passenger side there are the letters for the households. So there's no passenger airbag at that side, but on top of that, the car is completely equipped with everything a postman is needed during the day. So there's a seat heating system, there's a front window heating system, you have a heating system. With the next generation of the street scooter in the year 2019, there will be a steering wheel heating system as well, and there's on top of that the possibility in include air conditioning system as well. So then there is a hands-free speakerphone. So everything what is needed for having a safe drive during the day is included in the car, and everything based on the necessities and needs from the postal serviceman. May I switch now to the product portfolio of the company? So you see there is next to the cars, where you see in the middle and on the right, Street Scooter is also producing bikes and trikes with electric batteries. But I try to focus here on Work and Work L, the main products of the company. You see they have the specifications of the car: 4.3 cubic meters in pay volume and 8 cubic meters. The payload 740 kilogram and up to almost 1 ton. Both cars are equipped with a battery capacity of 40 kilowatt hours. The smaller version, the Work, was originally intended only with 20 kilowatt hours battery capacity because of the price, but it's definitely fully enough for the domestic letter and parcel service. So, and on the right side you see the Street Scooter Work XL, which started with the first series production in the last couple of days. It is in cooperation together with the Ford Motor Company in Cologne, Germany, and in 2019 the series of the production will start. We have a 20 cubic meters pay volume capacity in the box. We have a payload of 1.3 tons, and the car will be equipped with a battery capacity between 30 and 90 kilowatt hours, depending on the area of where the car will be used, and so the range differentiates between 80 and 200 kilometers a day. Let's have a brief overview about what are the arguments using the cars on top of the Post and Parcel division in Germany. For the international DHL divisions, depending on the country, you can have an environmental bonus up to 8,800 euros. So in the UK, for example, when the car will be equipped as a right-hand drive vehicle, then there's a possibility to be listed in the UK grant scheme for electric mobiles. So it is an advantage in getting partially the car be funded from the government, and in several other European countries is as well. What we see in Germany, and I think it will be the same in other European countries, is we have a maintenance and repair cost reduction in between 60 and 80% in comparison to a diesel-propelled car. There is in Germany the expression that the garages, they become liquid through the liquids. That means if you refill a lot of oil and brake fluid and so on, there is a high surcharge and a premium of these liquids. But with an electric car, the kind of liquids is only reduced to the brake fluid, which is needed to be checked up every 2 years. And another liquid is just the wiper fluid. So the garages can't make any liquid with liquids. So there's one of the topics why it is a strong reduction in the maintenance repair cost. Depending on the price of electricity in the country, we see 60 to 70% less energy costs in comparison to diesel. As I mentioned before, the average fuel consumption for a Volkswagen Transporter is 16.8 liters per 100 kilometer, which is a lot here, but it's not on the fault of the OEM Volkswagen. It is on the kind of usage, as I mentioned before. And Germany is a very high price country for electricity. So with all these methods of recuperation, start and stop cycles with electric cars, we can save up to 60 to 70% of the energy costs. On top of it, it is pretty comfortable in charging the car. In the postal depots, there is the charging infrastructure installed, 9,300 charging points at the moment, and we are still planning in building up to 3,500 to 5,000 charging points for next year. So we have enough room and space for widen the fleet within Germany with electric mobiles as well. And on top of that, and it is definitely true, we have a really enhanced image within Deutsche Post DHL since we introduced the street scooter into service. When you see the press review, almost every day, at least 3 to 10 different articles are read in German newspapers about the introduction of the car in a daily service. So last but not least, I want to share one little out view. We tested the car outside of Germany. We tested in the UK with DHL Supply Chain National Health Service in London, Wembley. We took in street scooter work, so it's just a smaller one, but with a huge battery capacity. We tested in July and in August for commuting blood and cell samples between different hospitals and laboratories in London. So the profile in running the car is almost the same than it is in domestic letter service in Germany. And we have a very good driver feedback for the car and handling of the car, the overall usage. And on top of that, it had a very positive effect as well, so that third parties were requested in having a testing cycle with the car as well. So Transport for London is the company who is running the buses and the undergrounds in London, requested a test, and we made it. The test ended last Friday, and on next week we are transferring the car to Heathrow Airport, and as well there is a high demand in testing the car, and even the supermarket company Marks and Spencer tested for several days the car, and maybe let's see what comes out of it. So that's almost done. There's a brief overview about the advantages of the car. So we have almost everywhere the possibility in deploying e-mobility, where the driving cycles is okay for the car, where the driver license are good for the car, is depending on the individual legislation in the countries. It is very good for inner city traffic because of the size and the surround view of the car. We have a very positive business case in the total cost of ownership. But, and this is where the mark is, it is not only a car, it is a system. So you can't think only about the car, you have to think about the system, and the system includes a charging capacity, and you have to keep in mind upfront before you introduce the car into service, what have you what it's needed to be done. So you have an infrastructure to be installed so you can charge your car properly and can use it properly. So that's it. Thank you very much. And now I'm ready to answer all your questions. Thank you.